Hello everyone, Ace here, and today let's talk a little bit more about Short Fat Otaku, aka Dev, as well as WhickTV, as well as, let's be honest, a third individual, namely Sondsol, who I debated back in 2020. It didn't go very well for him, but he recently tried to come out of the woodworks and try to defend Dev and WhickTV over the fact that they recently mocked the death of ICE agents. Yes, really. So what is the fantastic defense that Sondsol tries to pull, you may ask? Does he try to claim that WhickTV and Dev never made fun of the fact that ICE agents were dying of COVID? No, he tried to claim that I didn't understand the profound point that WhickTV and Dev were making. The point that somehow completely overrides the fact that they were mocking the death of ICE agents. I went out of my way to give him the opportunity to explain his position, which he then began to act like a total charlatan by claiming that he wouldn't even bother to provide such a profound position that completely justifies mocking the deaths of ICE agents. But he still cares about defending WhickTV and Dev over. I had to actually go out of my way to explain exactly what their point was, because everyone knows what their point was they were trying to make. The core issue that I myself, and I suspect most people have, is that the point that Dev and WhickTV were making is ultimately irrelevant and unworthy of discussion in comparison to the fact that they decided to mock the death of ICE agents in order to try to make that point. The very fact that they mocked the death of ICE agents to disease in order to try to make some profound point is what makes them evil scumbags. When I pointed this out, Sondsol tried to take up the position that this is just a joke, bro. Except, you know, he spent the entire time arguing that it wasn't just a joke and instead that Dev and WhickTV were making some profound argument. I, of course, pointed out this little discrepancy to Sondsol, who then decided to walk it back by saying, but making a joke and making a point aren't mutually exclusive, you know. What Sondsol, of course, failed to notice is the fact that it's just a joke, bro, while a valid argument only really works when it is indeed just a joke. The moment you admit that it is not just a joke and that you are trying to make some profound political point as well, is the moment that you open yourself up to moral scrutiny. Which leads us right back to square one, with WhickTV and Dev mocking the death of ICE agents, and Sondsol being perfectly okay with this. Now, this video is mostly me dunking on Sondsol for being an absolute moron that has absolutely zero morals, as well as both Dev and WhickTV. After all, they're the ones that thought that mocking the death of ICE agents was originally a good idea, and somehow a morally sound one at that. But I do believe there is a little more to this that is worth mentioning. See, this is the absolute best defense that the Dev defenders can hope to make. Not a defense of he didn't actually say that, or he didn't actually argue that, but that it's a good thing that he argued that because he was making some sort of profound point. Oh, sorry, that it was perfectly fine to mock the deaths of ICE agents. Sorry, Sondsol, I need to get your exact verbiage in correctly, or else you'll flip your shit and claim that I am misrepresenting you, even though it is actually reasonably accurate to say that you think that it's a good thing actually when Dev does it. But the overall thrust of my argument here is that there is no reasonable defense that the Dev defenders can make in defense of Dev or WhickTV. At the end of the day, they have to admit that yes, Dev and WhickTV were openly mocking the deaths of ICE agents. They have to admit that it wasn't actually just a joke, bro. That Dev and WhickTV were sincerely trying to make some profound political point. That point obviously being pure tribalism to everyone else, because it is. And so is the defense of Dev and WhickTV at this point. Because even when you steelman their position as much as humanly possible, it is still a scathing condemnation on their part, morally speaking. The absolute most charitable read possible of what WhickTV and Dev have done still shows that they are evil scumbags at the end of the day. People who are utterly irredeemable, despite the facade they throw up of being somehow virtuous, or morally upstanding, or indeed principled for that matter. The absolute best you can say about Dev and WhickTV here is that they are unprincipled, that they are unvirtuous, and that they are anything but morally upstanding. Sondsol, in his attempted defense of WhickTV and Dev, has instead done me a massive favor. He has done a significant amount of the legwork for me in further condemning Dev and WhickTV, as well as Sondsol himself, for that matter. I honestly have to thank Sondsol for the work he has done here today. I could not possibly have expected more from him if I asked.